next speaker in this session is Mr. Vaibhav Pitale. He has an experience of more than 19 years and is presently positioned as a managing director for India and Southwest Asia at Belimo. He is responsible for the development and execution of local and regional strategies to attain goals of the group headquarters and the regional Asia Pacific offices. Today, Mr. Vaibhav will talk about the contributing products and technologies for quality IAQ. So, delegates, let's welcome Mr. Vaibhav Pitale.
I think from the sustainable perspective, I think pandemic has shown, and if you really look at the global trends, there are three global trends which you see will dominate for next 10 to 15 years. And the first of the most important global trends that you'll see is on the digital and automation perspective, right? And if you really see what relevant guest speakers have spoken, they have touched base on this aspect of digitalization and automation, which will also happen in AIQ domain. The other is sustainability. As humans today, if you really see, what we are worried is, as again rightly spoken, is the future of our children, right? That's sustainability. So the future of the climate of the earth is something which the entire climate change committee is focusing on. And the other important aspect is sustainability of profits, right? Is also something which people are hugely focused on. And then the last and but not the least is the entire healthcare, and that's where understanding the sources is very important. And IAQ is one of the important parameters which has to be sort of the clean air is one of the important parameters which we need to ensure and has a global responsibility. So I will more talk about what are the 7 essentials of healthy indoor air quality, and where it's not about Belimo, it's about where we all can contribute. And these are some of the ideas which we think from our perspective can contribute. Right. So if you really see, and coming back to the context which was led by our panelists, I think 12,000 liters of air is inhaled by every human being every day. 12,000 liters. And now you can understand the context, the how important is the indoor air quality. And bad really AQ can really has a big impact on the life and the lifestyle you live. And hence the life can get even shortened because of inhaling of bad indoor air quality. And hence the outside air, and I agree, the outside is also equally important, and it has to be treated well in order to have that experience and have the indoor air quality also controlled in the appropriate way. And as Belimo, we are absolutely working with not only designing the products but also with government regulators to bring emphasis, right, and raise awareness. I think what COVID-19 has really helped is the acceptance of people talking about this topic and ready to listen to us. That awareness has increased. I think that is a big, I think, positive move I can see. And such sessions, I'm sure we did not conduct in the past, where we spoke about indoor air quality, right? We spoke about all the fancy and the glamorous thing, but I think we need to come back to the basics and talk about how healthy the air we are inhaling, or how healthy the water we are drinking has eventually an impact on the health of an individual. So I think there are 7 essential, and it's very important that we understand from the centralized air conditioning perspective. There are 7 essential. One is obviously we need to monitor, right? We need to raise alarm. We need to understand. We need to understand the ppm level which the government displays normally when you go to Delhi NCR. People are talking always about the air quality. Not so much in Mumbai or other states, but obviously it's very important when you look into closed environment. You need to have sensors which can monitor what is the temperature, what is the CO2 level, what is the RH level, relative humidity level. It's very important to monitor and measure that. The second is precise amount of air to the zone and controlled way, right? Because we have to also look at the efficiency perspective. It's very important where we need to push in the air, and what quantity also plays a very important role. Good air dilution and airflow. I think it's very, very important topic in terms of how do you dilute. And as rightly mentioned by one of the panelists, there's no way that you can stop the outside air to come in, because ultimately you require you require oxygen levels, right? Hence it's very important to also ensure that you dilute the CO2 and you get good quality of oxygen inside the premises. And then obviously there's an aspect of pressurization, and that's where it's also very important that you pressurize the envelope and the spaces to ensure the ambient temperatures or the comfortability is maintained into the entire indoor space. Correct, again, temperature and humidity is very important in terms of conditioning it. The other important thing is, some of the guest speakers have spoken, is about effective filtration. What is the time to sort of change the filters is also very important, and then proper amount of outside air. I think we have spoken and touch base. So I think there are these important parameters that we need to consider in terms of indoor air quality measurement and visibility. I think we have spoken about VOC in terms of volatile organic compound, but there's also an important aspect of humidity, temperature, and CO2. I think which has huge contribution in terms of the risk which arise of not having it to the right extent. So relative humidity is a very important topic, and the various research has been done on this topic. And the transmission sort of happens when the relative humidity is less than 40% and it's greater than 60%. The effectiveness, if you really see, of microorganisms or viruses or whatever you can say, is relatively very, very, very low, between 40% to 60%. And hence, this is where the Belimo sensor sort of products come into play in order to ensure that you have a correct measurement of this relative humidity, oxygen, CO2 levels, and temperature, which is in the closed environment. The other important aspect of the precise amount of air is adequate airflow. I think this is very, very important. It should depend on number of people, right, who are going to be utilizing that particular premises, the room. A biocontamination, right, in order to ensure that this is eliminated through creating a negative pressure, positive pressure balance, right? Higher the concentration and longer contamination of air remains in the room, that there's a bigger likelihood that you will get really impacted uh, uh, with IAQ, right? And hence, this is where variable air volume control devices, which are prepared by Belimo, plays a very important role in regulating and controlling the precise air in a particular premises or in your room. I think good dilution, this is fluid dynamics, that is extremely important. Airflow in the room carefully has to be designed. This is where I agree with the panelists that the design aspect comes into play, right? Uh, uh, and I go back to the very simple is plan, do, check, and act, right? And this, it's very much, it starts from planning and designing in an appropriate way the airflows in the room, how it should be done, where it is required, where we need to create a positive pressure, negative pressure concentrated in a particular area. And that is where again Belimo devices with actuators, VAV, comes into play to ensure this is done. And but it has to be designed well to have the optimal impact on the entire environment. I think the consistent pressure of envelope and spaces, I think, is very important. And usually, goal is to have significant low pressure for building envelope, especially in humid climate. Over pressure helps to keep the extreme humidity out and avoid uh, undue balances. I think it's very important thing. And COVID anti-measure, it's recommended to change the under pressure in places where it's applicable. And hospital rooms with contaminated people, we need to ensure that the negative pressure is one of the challenges which we face. And hence again, isolating, designing with the appropriate airflow in such rooms and premises plays a very important role. And hence it is very important when you pressurize and envelope, all these aspects of indoor air quality are taken into place. I think this is a slide which is very important. I think from the relative humidity perspective, an ideal zone, I think that is where the measurement of relative humidity comes into play, is between 40 to 60%. If you really see bacteria, viruses, fungi, respiratory infections are minimum, and hence it's very important to start measuring this and hence take corrective actions in terms of when you are designing the premises, and especially in the air conditioning environment which are centralized. At the same time, you have different technologies which are used obviously in the other applications. And hence, again, coming back to measurement of these critical parameters is important, and hence the energy efficiency has to be then appropriately sort of balanced with the result that is expected. I think filtration, I think we have spoken enough. And obviously, it's very important that you not only fix the filter and you forget about it, but you get in a discrete or a dynamic way uh, the health of the filter, because plays a very important role in terms of the way the air has to be treated, and obviously to avoid contamination of air in closed environment. And hence replacement of filters, having a DP switches which allows you to tell either it is analog or pressure based, helps us to then give a feedback through a BMS system that the particular filtration has to be change. Last but not the least, I think a proper amount of outside air, and the designers are the consultants are the better, I think, custodians of this in order to ensure that we take appropriate amount of outside air. Different premises have different approximately 30%, and we treat it to ensure that we have indoor air quality which is at the optimum level. I think these are 7 steps which we as an organization thought we would like to emphasize on. And our entire indoor air quality program is based on looking at these parameters from the holistic perspective, designing the products to ensure we have achieved the level of indoor air quality. Obviously, if looking at the sustainability aspect is very important, and sustainability also from the aspect of being efficient, right? And this is the balance we as industry leaders have to ensure. When we talk about indoor air quality, we also have to be mindful about the efficiency and try to get a balance to have a healthy life for the future. Thank you.